Spider-Man and Cloud are always present in some way, shape, or form in
True.
our episodes. Mm. Dan, who would win in a fight between Spider-Man and Cloud?
Oh, I don't know. That's interesting because I mean, Cloud's got the giant sword, so he's just cutting through the webs, right? But I mean,
And it's not like
Spidey's
he has
got
no powers. He's got a lot of powers going on too.
yeah, he's jumping around, doing anime stuff. But I mean, he's got Spidey sense. He's very agile. He's gonna be
Mm-hmm.
dodging stuff. I don't know. That'd be a good fight. That'd be interesting.
I mean,
Yeah.
that Buster Sword could probably slice through that webbing, don't you think?
Oh,
Maybe.
absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely would slice through the web. Yeah, yeah. So
Hmm.
Spidey would have to be a little creative.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
Although if it were Miles' version of Spider-Man, it might be easier. He can just start shocking him. I'm not sure Cloud could handle all the electrocution. But if it's regular
Well,
old Peter Spider-Man,
I mean,
maybe.
he's getting Thundagad, right?
Yep.
Thundaga.
So
So
he's used to it.
he's just like immune basically. He's like whatever. I have a ring. I have a coral ring, and it's absorbing your electricity. So
It's true. Well, we'll have to make this happen. Let's get AI on this. Let's get AI to create a
yeah,
fight between
AI fixes everything.
Spider-Man and Cloud Strife. Actually, I wish we could do that. Let's insert that right here.
Bloop, 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 bloop.
Yeah, no one did that. But it is episode 245 of the Current Gen podcast. My name is Tim. I'm here with Dan for a little fireside chat on this, well, at least here in Colorado, this very snowy weekend. Although today the sun has come out, the temperature went up to like 50, maybe high 40s, low 50s. And so the snow was starting to melt super rapidly
Yeah.
with how sunny it was. But yeah, from like Tuesday night through last night, through Friday night, it just snowed almost nonstop. I think we got a
Oh,
total of
jeez.
18 to 20 inches maybe total.
Ooh.
Kids didn't have school Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, so they had a blast. They've had a 5-day
Sure.
weekend.
Sure.
Um, and yeah, it's been pretty crazy, but that's part of living in Colorado. You run the risk of a random early November or late May blizzard.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
it happens.
Yeah.
So, but everyone's fine. You know, we survived it. I think our
Good.
dogs were bored because the dogs had to stay inside a lot more than usual. So they were like, "Come on."
They don't
But
get to
other
like go defecate in the snow. They love doing that in the snow,
they
right?
they do that, but then they quickly are like, "Can we come back inside? It's getting
Sure.
cold." So like, but then they come inside and they're bored. You know what I mean? It's like it's one of
Sure.
those
Sure.
things where it's like you guys are never happy. Just
No,
you know,
you're just
pick
animals. I mean,
pick
your
a
life's
lane.
easy.
Yeah, for real. But anyway, you would think with all these snow days, I would have had a chance to really get some gaming in. Now my kids did. I got kids who
Right.
are now playing things like Rainbow Six Siege. My one son finished Echoes of Wisdom and started playing another round of For the King. He loves that game on the Switch. Um, so a lot of gaming's been happening in my house. It just
So what
hasn't
you're
been
saying is
by
right
me.
now you're going to insert your kids talking on the podcast.
Yeah,
right now.
and cut.
And
All right, thanks guys for your insights on those games. Well done on whatever it is. But yeah, no,
public.
there's been a lot of gaming happening, but I of course work from home, which means snow days aren't a thing. So if it's snowy, that just
Right.
means I'm still at home and I'm still working. And that was actually it was a pretty crazy work week, like a lot of big things happening. So like I've just been more swamped than usual and kids have
Yeah.
been home. So it's just been one of those weird weeks, but um I don't know about
Weird
you.
week
Like
indeed.
you guys have not had snow on the East Coast, right?
No, no snow yet. It's definitely has started to dip temperature wise, but there was like, I think it was this week. I think there was a couple of 70-degree days randomly, but like
Dang.
it's consistently it has like the past couple weeks overall been dipping down into the 40s and then at night like in the 30s. But
Okay.
yeah,
All
no
right.
snow though. No snow.
No snow yet, but I know you do get your fair share though when it comes to the winter time. It's not
Yeah,
like you don't get any over on
no,
the
we
East
definitely
Coast
do.
there.
Although I don't say the past like 3-4 years, it's been like very infrequent.
Yeah.
But when we
Yeah.
do, it can be a lot. But
We
yeah,
had some milder winters here too. But I think last winter was like, all right, that's a good amount of snow. And this winter, it's already like buckle up because look, this is the first wave
yeah.
in November. So we'll see what happens. But hey, there are new games out, even though I haven't had a chance to play them. I don't think Dan has played many of these either, but we'll still call out the stuff that's new this week. The two biggest releases, in my opinion, are the Mario and Luigi game on the
Mhm.
Switch called Brothership. And I know that there's a bunch of mixed reviews from critics out there. Generally speaking, it
Hmm.
seems like the audience is liking it. Like IGN gave it a 5, but
Yeah, I saw that.
it still has like an 80 something average or high 70s, low 80s average. Like it's got a pretty overall, like you would call it good score
Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
from all the critics. So some critics are giving it nines, you know.
Five
But
seems extreme. I'm like curious, like why five? I haven't read or watched their review, so
yeah, as far as I can tell, they're just saying it fell flat. Everything from the
uh,
gameplay and the writing, and they just thought it fell flat. But it depends on who it is and what they're bringing to the
sure,
table, and are they major fans of the series already and they expected things, or maybe they're new to the series and didn't know what to expect. Who
sure.
knows? So anyway, this is one of those that I haven't really gotten into the Mario and Luigi series super in depth. I played the DS one, thought that was really fun.
Hmm.
I thought it was really funny as well, but haven't really played many of the other ones at all that
I've
I
only
can
played
think
the
of.
first one on GBA. The what was it, Superstar Saga, or I think that's what it's
Maybe I
called.
think that's the one I played. I think that's the only
Okay,
one I
so that's
played.
the GBA one. That
Hmm.
was the very first one they
Okay,
did.
that's the one I played then. Okay, yeah,
Okay, that one. I mean, I like it a lot. I like the
it's
visual
funny.
style of it. Yeah, it's very funny. Some good,
Hmm.
clever writing there, which I think also kind of carries over from the Paper Mario.
Yeah.
Um, and just yeah, it's got a really nice style. I think the combat they try to. I never finished it, but I remember it being pretty creative. Like they kept adding new things going on, combining
Hmm.
Mario and Luigi doing like moves together and various things. So
Yeah.
um, yeah,
But neither one of us are playing this new iteration quite yet. There's too many other things that we're trying to juggle. And realistically, we've got 1 month until the Game Awards for Jeff Keighley, and then maybe 2 months at the most until we start doing our Game of the Year debate episodes.
mm,
So I think there's, for the most part, I'm very distracted right now by when I do game, I'm just playing like comfort food stuff, and
sure.
I need to knock out a few games or at least start up a few games so I can talk about them with some
Hmm.
level of education on them. But other new releases that are out, Metal Slug Tactics is one which I did play a little bit of
Oh yeah.
because it's on Game Pass.
Oh okay. Nice.
So I played this one. It reminds me a lot of like an Into the Breach or something like that, where it's a grid-based game, very pixel graphics, very 90s arcade style with the pixel. You've seen Metal Slug. So it's the Metal
Metal
Slug
Slug has
art.
great pixel art. Yeah.
Yeah, it's the Metal Slug art style. And so it's what you would expect. Like you are moving around on a grid, you have a certain amount of I think they call it adrenaline. I think that's the word they use. But anyway, you have a certain amount of movement you can do. Maybe you can do a special attack or your normal attack. They have this really cool system called sync, where if you are in line with your teammates line of view to an enemy, like if you line them up
Hmm.
correctly, and you attack with one, if the other one's main weapon could hit them too, they'll sync their attack and they'll both attack.
Oh,
So you can kind
that's
of
cool.
chain those together. And if you're really
Yeah.
smart, you could get like 9 attacks out of 3 characters if you're really smart
Jeez.
about how you play it. Because I think there's some special. I think you can only do one sync per round, but if there's some special abilities that let you do multiple syncs per round. Like there's
Hmm.
ways to build it up. So anyway, that part's cool. It is a roguelike where it's like you do a run and you kind of pick a path and then you upgrade
Okay.
things and you go back and you're going to add people to your crew and do another run. They each have their own specialties, everything from handguns to grenades to rocket launchers or a sniper, the stuff that you would think.
But like tanks and stuff.
I know you fight against tanks. I've taken out a
Oh, okay.
couple of vehicles. I haven't
Okay.
gotten a tank yet. If they have that, I haven't gotten that. But yeah, and then like this, it's small little arenas. The standard difficulty is set to easy, so I just went with that.
Okay.
And like by the third level, I was already like, "Ooh, this is kind of hard." Like I was already like, "I'm
They're
glad I
like,
didn't
yeah, this
play
is
on
actually not easy.
normal." Yeah.
This is
So
actually
it definitely makes you think. Oh, one of the cool systems is this um, it's a system that the more you move, the higher your dodge ability is. So they have this dodge feature. They
hmm.
don't want you to like sit and camp and try to take enemies out. Like you're not just trying to find
Sure.
cover and then go. It's very different than playing like XCOM or something like that. Like you
Hmm.
want to run. It literally says in the tutorial, we want to encourage you to run and gun. So if you move really
Hmm.
far, you're going to build up more of these little green shield points that help you dodge a certain amount of damage that'll come in, like up to maybe 4 or 5 points of damage, which is a big deal. Because if you just stay put and get hit, you're going to take the full amount of their damage, whatever it was. Like maybe it's 6 points of damage, and that's a lot. You only have like 10 health. But if you move a lot and now you've got that little four. Let's say it's 4 points of dodge. Now they're only going to hit you for 2 damage because you're going to dodge 4 of it. So like it's little things like that. They're encouraging you to move around the environment a lot, which is cool. So yeah, it's a pretty straightforward roguelike tactics game. I think I didn't play it enough to know if I would say it's a hard recommend, but if you do have Game Pass, I do recommend giving it a whirl if you like tactics games. Because I think
I
it's
was gonna say,
cool.
I mean, you're saying you haven't played like a ton of it. I've said before, I'm traditionally usually just more straight up RPGs,
Yeah.
not so much the tactical ones, unless I'm in the mood for it.
Yeah.
But this sounds like even that early on, like pretty in depth. Like there's like
It
a
is.
good amount of layers there. Like
Yeah,
already.
there's cover.
So,
Like there's certain spots on the stage that'll either be hazardous, like a random explosive barrel or something like that, or fire maybe. And there's cover. So if you park right beside cover, you're going to take even less damage. So it's very strategic. You want to line up your teammates with a sync attack. You want to sit by cover. You can undo moves sometimes. I think you have like 5 chances to reset the whole turn if things just really go south real quick. So yeah, they do a pretty good job. There are like multiple levels. You can go up and down, but I haven't figured out how to attack when I'm that high. It avoids
okay.
getting hit. They have to come up to you to hit you. But I would love it if like could I sit on top of a building and shoot down? It wasn't letting me. I had to like go down to their
Yeah, like
level to
snipe
shoot
down.
them. Yeah. So
Maybe is there different classes? Like, are
there
there
could be a
soldiers?
sniper class because so far I've
Okay.
only got like kind of an assault guy, an all-around guy, like an assault person, and like a grenade
Yeah.
person.
I'm wondering if this like
So
like
maybe
a
there's a
sniper or
sniper.
something.
Hmm
And
Maybe
yeah,
like a mortar system or something. But
yeah, it does sound interesting though. That sounds
yeah,
like there's definitely a lot going on and can eventually get kind of overwhelming maybe, but
yeah, and there's a lot. They do have a system where it'll bring up a little tooltip, or you can bring it up at any time. And if there's any terms in there, it actually, funny enough, it reminded me of Crusader Kings, where you can click on any word or any message almost, and
mm,
then get a little additional tooltip to learn about what they mean by
uh,
that.
I
So
like that a
like,
lot. I like
which
that.
is important in a game like Crusader Kings because it's so confusing and it's like, wait, what's a duchy? Like, how do I turn that into like a
Sure.
province? Or like all the different terms that you're trying to figure out. And I know that wasn't even the right 2 terms, but anyway, I think duchy is a kingdom. Anyway, whatever.
I can't hover
So
the mouse right now, Tim. I can't
you can't.
hover. I
Where's my
can't do it.
tooltip when I need it?
Yeah, where's my tools?
But it
That's what
has
she
that
said.
where you're like trying to you're trying to figure out your special moves, which do take adrenaline points, which you build up by moving a lot. So you build up adrenaline the more you move around, and you can do special moves like you can buff your next attack, or you can. This reminded me of Into the Breach, where you can just bump any character, whether it's an ally or an enemy, to move one spot, which makes a big difference when you're trying to line things up the right way. So,
Mm,
like maybe you can bump them to the side, or push them off the edge, or push them closer to a barrel that you want to blow up, or whatever the reasoning might be
yeah.
to bump you, or move one of your teammates out of harm's way or something. Um,
Cool.
so, so yeah, there's lots of different strategies there, and I'm sure that with each run, and which path you choose there's going to be a lot to unlock. I'm sure there's other characters to unlock, but
Yeah.
generally speaking, it's a pretty solid core gameplay set of mechanics there. So
Sounds cool.
yeah, yeah, not bad. Metal Slug Tactics is pretty fun. Um, Also out this week is this creepy game called Slitterhead.
Slitterhead.
This is from the Silent Hill creator. It
Yeah.
says new studio. It says a new game. They said I'm pretty sure it's a new studio. I think it's their first game. I think.
I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Um, but I thought it was funny that he came out as the game released, and he says, like my previous games, this title will offer players an original experience, even if it's a little rough around the edges. It's like, are you trying to like hedge your bets a little bit? Like, everyone relax, it's not that good. Like I couldn't tell
I,
what that meant,
it
but
had a little bit. I don't know if like even jank is the right word, but I remember when it first showed, it just kind of had like I don't know, it had a certain like energy to it, like an old school type of PS2
I
era
agree.
or something like
I
type of
agree.
energy about it. But
Certainly not hyper realistic or anything like that. Like you look at
yeah,
the new Silent Hill 2 remake, nowhere near that level of quality and
right.
visuals.
So I think maybe he's trying to be like, this isn't like some AAA $200 million
Yeah.
budget horror game. You know what I mean? So
I agree. Well, the critics seem to agree. It is not getting great reviews. It's sitting in the mid 60s on average, so
cool.
it's not blowing the doors off of most people's reviews. That being said, I think there's always an audience for a game like this. It seems like the gameplay hook, based on what I've seen from trailers, is very unique.
Mm,
So, and if you really like kind of niche horror games like this, it's the kind of thing that I would be like, hey, go give it a whirl, go support
yeah.
it. It could be one of those games too that it's like, what was that Tokyo game where you control animals and then like,
Tokyo Jungle.
yeah, it could be a game like that where it's not necessarily a huge hit, but over time it builds its own little niche audience
Yeah.
because they love that. Like it could be that type of a thing, you know?
Or like just really passionate. I mean, like in general, just streamers. A lot of times games are just kind of whatever, and then
That's right.
like some
Yeah.
streamers get their hands on it, and more
Yeah.
attention gets put on it. So that's
Yeah.
another streaming.
Yeah. Speaking of streamers, I've watched a few clips, and I don't watch a whole lot of streamers when they're doing their stuff live. You're probably the only streamer, Dan, that I've actually like joined in while you're live streaming. I've just watched like past recordings or clips of some
Yeah.
streams on things. But anyway, I watched someone with another new piece of content that's out, not a new game, but it's a new
Mm.
update for Enshrouded that I think we
Oh,
talked
okay.
about a few episodes back, where they added a whole new biome. And they've added a bunch of NPCs and animals that will now make your kind of homestead feel more alive and vibrant.
Mm.
You can have like pets and all that kind of stuff. Like they just added a huge patch that includes a new biome, new bosses, new skills, higher level cap, and then more building type stuff. So
Cool.
I really want to jump back into that game and play it some more. I liked Enshrouded a lot. I need to play it some more. It was a cool mix between like a little bit of Zelda-esque stuff with the gliding, and
Mm.
some of the
Okay.
combat. But then, of course, a good amount of Valheim too, with
Yeah.
exploring and building. But it had its own vibe. It had its own feel. It wasn't really pegged into any one of those particular, elements of the combat. Reminded me a little bit of Fable too. And I mean these all as compliments. Like they're little
Yeah.
pieces that I felt like, oh, this kind of reminds me of that game. So
Clearly inspired by multiple things and mixing
yeah,
them all together. So
yeah, I like it. So it's cool that that game is still expanding. I would expect the full release of that game to be sometime next year, maybe the year after. But at the pace they're going, it seems like, I think there's one, maybe two more major biome updates, and then it's going to be fully released. So, and it just launched in early access like in February, I think, of this year. So
and it's a pretty game, right? I mean, like
it is.
not
Yeah.
that Valheim is like ugly, but it's definitely more of like a
No, this
it's
one's
going
more realistic looking.
yeah,
Hmm.
yeah, exactly. So definitely a different visual style
I would
too. So.
like if you played stuff like Valheim, obviously yes, go play. But even if you don't, even if you're more into just action RPGs and you like to go take down dungeons and bosses and upgrade gear, I would still encourage you to give it a try. You don't have to spend a ton of time building. There are some of the main missions that want you to do your basic thing, like set up your home and your bed where you can respawn, and like as you unlock NPCs like a blacksmith and stuff, you need to give them a place to live. So there's some small building things that you have to do, but it's not much. And if it turns out you really like building, then maybe you'll have a lot of fun with it because their system's pretty good. I still think
Mm,
Valheim does it the best.
so
Their whole
good.
system of building is so good. It just feels supernatural and intuitive. But this one's pretty good. This one has a pretty good feel to it as well. It gives you even more, it's like the voxels. So like it gives you
Yeah,
more
yeah.
control down to the very brick level of
Yep.
what you want to make. So I imagine I haven't really looked. I imagine people have made some crazy stuff in Enshrouded, but I haven't really
Like
looked.
building stuff.
Oh yeah, because I mean in Valheim it's nuts the stuff that people have built, and
Yeah.
and you're pretty boxed in a lot of ways. It's just people have
Yeah.
gotten creative with how they use the pieces available to them.
Yep.
So anyway, so yeah, that update is out. Planet Coaster 2 is out. I
Hmm.
don't think it's early access. I know the reviews on it are kind of mixed at the moment by the users
Oh.
on Steam.
Okay. Although I swear, didn't you mention it last week? So was it not already out or?
So we were just talking about, excuse me, we were talking about how it's on the way out. We mentioned
Oh,
it
okay.
quickly last week. So
Oh,
it's out
yeah.
now. Um, yeah, 60% of user reviews are positive. It's not great.
Maybe not enough changes. Maybe it feels just like the same thing. Like
And it is not in early access. It's just
just out.
released on
Yeah.
PC. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. So Planet Coaster 2 is out. It's another one of those things too that I will eventually probably grab it and try it out. And they'll have it updated, and there's probably going to be a bunch of DLC for it. And um, yeah, I remember on Planet Zoo, I even have purchased DLC for that game when it's gone on sale for like $1 or $2 for each little pack.
Yeah.
There's even DLC I haven't even used, like little animals and things that they've added that I haven't even tried yet, in that game. So
Well, that's the thing with this game. I mean, like, I mean, when did the first Planet Coaster come out? I swear it's like only 3 or 4 years old.
20 maybe.
Yeah, so like 4 years old. Like, why they've been releasing DLC for it? Just keep doing that. Why are you already making a
No,
second
I
one?
was way off. It came out in
Oh,
2016.
oh wow. Okay, so it's all right. Never mind. So it's 8 years old.
It's Planet Zoo, I think maybe is a little bit more recent than that.
Oh, okay.
I know they've
I
done a
don't know why
lot
I
of
thought it was.
DLC for both of them.
Yeah.
Planet Zoo was 2019. So
Okay.
both have been out for a while and just
Dude, I
gotten
didn't
lots of support.
realize.
Planet Zoo still, since I have it installed, I'll still see relatively regular updates queue up for it. Like they're
Yeah.
still working on that stuff, which is
It
cool.
just
It's
yeah,
nice
I
to
don't know.
see.
Well, I mean, I guess it's 8 years old, so that's not as far fetched. But yeah, I don't know. They have released DLC for it. Um,
Yep.
so I don't know. I guess I'd have to check out to see why the users are cranky about this one.
Yeah. Actually, now that we're talking about it, might as well just look and see. I'm curious, what are some of the reviews?
Because I'm just wondering in my head, it's like maybe people are like, this
The
wasn't
the
worth a
critic
sequel.
reviews seem pretty decent on it, at least the ones they're touting in their little trailer here.
Yeah.
Let's see what people are saying.
What are
They
the
gave it a
masses saying?
negative review because of the power generator. I don't know what that means. The controls interface is confusing. They can always update the UI.
Sure, sure, sure. Or
Some bad
sometimes there's just a
lag,
lot going on. So
a
sometimes
lot
people
of
are just
bugs,
like,
a lot of bugs, a lot of lag.
okay, okay,
Certain graphics cards, it's just crashing on. Okay.
okay. Those are valid. Those are valid.
Instability, crashing.
Okay.
Lost my save data. This is all
Ooh.
patchable stuff. And I'm not saying it's not like, don't get me wrong. It deserves a negative review if you lost a bunch of time. Like,
Yeah,
totally
yeah.
get it. Um, let's see. Someone took 3 days off work to pour their soul into this game because they played 700 hours of the first one.
Jeez.
Um,
Ooh, wow.
overall performance, and this person is saying.
Yeah.
So it sounds like it's mostly in the technical realm,
Yeah.
and people are even saying in their reviews, hopefully they'll improve it and I'll change my review. So
Yeah.
it's sitting at 60% now with a lot of that feedback. That's not so bad now that we see,
No.
like with that context,
Yeah, yeah.
That'll probably go, that number will bump up. We'll pump those numbers up at some point.
We'll pump them up. Yeah. These are rookie numbers right now, but
These are,
we'll pump them up.
that's right. So this one's weird. I don't know that it's a new release on all platforms. So Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Splintered Fate is listed as a new release, but I think that one came out like on Switch earlier
We've
this
been
year.
doing this like every week. We're like, there's a new one coming out. What's happening? Is this actually different? Like, what's going on?
I mean, it's very confusing.
I feel like every week this entire year, Tim, a TMNT game has come out. Every week.
It has okay, so here we go. This
72 TMNT games came out this year.
72 at least. All right, so let's see. There was a Switch port. No. They said it has had a strange journey. It was on mobile first. This was a mobile game. It got ported to Switch this summer, and now it's on consoles and PC.
Yeah, what a journey.
That's why the release cadence has been weird, and that's why it's been released right beside another TMNT game, which was just developed for consoles.
Sure.
Okay, so that makes more sense now. The Mutants Unleashed one, but this one actually does have much better overall reviews comparatively when it comes to Ninja Turtles games. This one is in the very positive reviews by Steam users.
Oh, okay.
It's got
Well,
86% positive. It's got that isometric. I can see how it was a phone game, right? Like if you're just controlling with your phone, tapping or using the little on-screen controls, or if you have one of those backbone things, which I've heard are pretty cool.
Yep.
But anyway, it looks like very much a isometric co-op action game. Okay. And the art style, it does look very mobile-like, but also looks pretty fun. Doesn't look bad.
I mean, we tease, but I mean, I like TMNT. I mean,
I do too. And when it's done well, like the Shredder's Revenge game was just so fun. Like, and the music in that game. Dan also out this week. We mentioned it last week. Chicken Police Into the Hive.
Yes. Oh yeah.
Out this week.
It's happening, Tim.
Are you gonna
Chicken Saga continues?
Chicken Saga.
Because when I did stream that one, because to me I was just like, this looks funny and like it could be interesting, and it actually was. I actually did. Again, I've said before, I did find it interesting, but I mean, no one cared. Like no one cared about me streaming that game. So that would be something that down the line I'm like, oh, let me grab this on sale and like play it, during my free time. So, but yeah, aesthetically, just Google chicken police. Anybody, it's absurd. Literally, like just straight up, like look like human bodies, but then like it's like actual realistic animal heads like on the body, and it's like it just like is well done. It's really jarring and off-putting, but funny.
Yeah. It does look very strange, but also
Yes.
interesting. The art style is very, I mean, it's good. Like the
It's
art style
going
is
for
really
like
cool.
that 50s noir thing. It's you're solving a crime. Like that's what you were doing in the
But
first
everyone
one.
has like leather jackets, like duster jackets on
Oh
and
yeah.
stuff like that. But
Yeah.
they have farm animal heads for the most part,
Yeah. Like very mafia, but like, animal heads.
So, and they
So
look like real images of real animals that they just cropped and put on, you know what I mean? Like it's got that vibe to it.
yeah.
So,
And there's like some deep lore there because like this is Into the Hive, which is that I'm assuming exploring the insect side of things because there's actually like insect people. And I remember in the first one there was definitely I think that area like where the insects were, there was like some kind of like crazy rioting, like some violent stuff was happening on the streets, the insect streets, Tim. So
all right. Well, now we're going to learn more Into the Hive. Overall, very positive user reviews on Steam. 96% positive. Not very many reviews, but still, people are liking it.
Wrecked Planet Coaster too.
Goat Simulator Remastered is out. I think that's on Game Pass as well. So if you want to give that one a look, the remastered version of the original game, which had a single sequel called Goat Simulator 3, which is still one of my favorite things.
Ridiculous.
Dan, you're probably more familiar with this than I am, but Death Note Killer Within is out.
Oh, so I actually did see a trailer for that. I was like, oh, we're getting a Death Note game? That's weird. And then like I was watching the trailer and it got even weirder because then it almost looks like these little like, I don't know, Nintendo centric like little like people walking around.
These little
and
figurines almost.
Yeah, these little figurines that look like that would be like Nintendo Street
So they're
Pass
saying it's
type
an
of
online social deduction game.
Oh, it's online.
So it's
okay.
it's only $10 and there's up to 10 players. You split into 2 teams and you got to figure out the pretty much like I guess there's probably a mole on each side or something like Departed style. I don't know exactly, but it is a social deduction game where you have to decide who like you have to figure out who people are.
There's going to be whoever has the Death Note and then which I'm forgetting that character's name, and then I think the one that's trying to figure L is the one that's trying to figure him out, I believe.
Okay.
He's like the super genius guy that's like
trying to figure out. It says you either have to eliminate L, who threatens Kira's power, or seize the Death Note. Okay. Depending on which team you're on, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, that could be interesting.
Yeah. So it's people are really liking it, I think, generally speaking. So there you go. That game is out. Mirthwood, which I talked about a while ago. It's a Stardew Valley-like, but it has similar graphics to that Pentiment game where it's a little bit like paper cutout. Not my favorite visual style, to be honest with you, but it is a like medieval Stardew Valley sort of.
Yeah.
So if you like kind of farming and RPGing and talking to every character and choosing who you want to build friendships or relationships with, I think that's all there. But yeah, the visual style just wasn't my thing. Also, River City Saga: The Three Kingdoms Next is out. Not really a series.
Another River City game.
Yeah, it's not a series I've gotten super into. I feel like Kyle's played these, or have you played these? I feel like one of you has.
I like River City Girls. That's a really fun beat 'em up.
Maybe that's what I was thinking of.
Yeah, Renee and I have played the first one. We started the second one and actually didn't like finish it because it almost was like too much. It was almost like too much going on. The first one.
Yeah, so really it doesn't have like the best of reviews out. It is also $30, which is not super cheap. But yeah, I mean, it looks like that kind of pixel art with sort of pixel art.
It looks like the traditional old River City Ransom like characters, but like it's feudal Japan, right? So
yeah. So that game is out, as well as this game called Empire of the Ants, which I'm fascinated by this game.
Oh my God, Tim, that's $40 on PlayStation.
The River City game is?
No, Empire of the Ants.
It is?
I saw because when I was scrolling the other day through like, oh, what's new? And I saw that game. I was like, oh, cool, a realistic looking ant game.
Oh,
I
was
like,
this game's on Steam too.
Okay, so it's just 40 everywhere.
I'm not gonna buy it that no way. But it does look very realistic.
Yeah.
Like it's got a cool like realistic visuals. Reminds me of something like A Bug's Life or the Ants movie that all, they came out in the late 90s
you're
there.
like down there at their
You are
perspective at
literally
the
an
ants.
ant. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it calls itself like a narration strategy, real-time tactics game.
What?
So you're like actually trying, I think you're actually helping to organize like what people are doing, and you're going season after season. You got to collect enough to survive, I would
Okay.
imagine.
Okay.
Defend against, I'm assuming, other attacking creatures. And
Oh.
um, so I'm fascinated by the idea of it. And it does look really cool. Like it doesn't look so photorealistic that I can't tell it's a game, but it does look really
Right.
good. It does
Yeah.
look, you can tell it's like, I think it's an Unreal 5 or something. It's in some modern looking engine and it looks nice.
Unreal ants, Tim. Some
Unreal
unreal ants.
Ants. So yeah, Empire of the Ants is
Also an
out.
unreal price.
And then there's this game out called, I think it's pronounced Zephon. I'm not sure exactly how you, but anyway, it is a strategy game. Think like Civilization. They call them like the 4X strategy games. So you have like
Okay.
usually like a hex grid or something where you're choosing where to move
Sure.
and where to attack. But
Yeah.
from what
Yeah.
I've heard, people really are liking it a lot. It's like a 92% positive by users, but it's much more combat focused than something like Civ. Although you do also
Mm,
kind of want to build your, not civilization, but your group up.
mm.
But it is a lot more combat focused. Um,
Looks cool though.
yeah, this one looks really neat. So there you go. Whole bunch of new stuff. Always something small and niche that's worth taking a look. And I'm hoping that anyone who listens or watches this, every once in a while, we mention something that you're like, well, that sounds like something I would like. So either it's something for us to make fun of because it sounds stupid, but most of these we just mentioned, they all fall in some niche category. A roguelike
Yeah.
tactics game, a horror game where you're like a leech or an alien in Slitterhead that like possesses things. I'm not sure
Sure.
exactly what you do in that. You've got a amusement park builder. You've got a Ninja Turtles action RPG. You've got a narrative noir game where you're animal head things on top of human bodies.
Animal head things.
Yeah, you've got a social deduction game in an anime universe. River City Saga. You can run an Empire of Ants or a civilization strategy kind of a game.
Quite the variety this week, Tim.
There's a lot. Funnily enough, though, the only one I've played out of all those was Metal Slug Tactics, and
Mhm.
I don't think you've played any of them, but you are playing some stuff. So
Yeah.
let's talk real quick about some stuff that we are playing. What are some things that you're currently playing, even if they're not totally brand new? That's totally fine.
Well, so finished Silent Hill 2, finally. I
Mm.
uh I did beat that.
What's your overall thought? I mean, I know you guys were pretty glowing about it a few weeks ago as we talked
Mhm.
about it. Now that you've wrapped it up and you've thought about it, two questions. One, what are your overall thoughts, positive, negative? But also, would you ever replay this thing, knowing how kind of like creepy it is?
So I am curious about the original one. I don't know if like I'll 100% ever go and play it, but I feel like maybe like dabble just to kind of see like the differences. Be like, oh, like this is what it looks like. I mean, or I've seen what it looks like, but just like obviously the camera perspective and just like maybe like things that are different compared to this one. But man, yeah. So I did really like it. I really liked it overall. There definitely are areas and I'm like, this is going on for like just a smidge too long. Like you could have shaved a little bit here and there, like, but they clearly didn't want to because well, this is the game that they made and didn't want to. But also, like, they really want you to like be in this game and just feel like, and it like the words that we've used like before, like it's just heavy and just it just feels like overwhelming and it's just like the sensation that it gives you is just like I don't want to be here but
Yeah.
like I'm also enjoying the hell out of this game because it's just nuts and scary and like that's just when you're into that you're into it so it's a very different vibe compared to Resident Evil
Yeah.
the series overall and I get it
Because
now I
Resident Evil can be gross and sometimes creepy, but generally speaking, is a lot of tongue in cheek kind of B movie stuff that's fun.
well especially the older ones the newer ones are trying to take themselves definitely more
Hey,
seriously
Village was genuinely like, whoa, that's kind of messed
yeah
up. And seven
yeah
too. But like replaying four, and four is one of my favorites. I just loved it. I thought
hmm
the remake was perfect. But it certainly they have fun with it. Even the villains and the
oh
conversations they're
yeah
having,
for
it's
sure
like I loved the kind of just cheesiness of it all. Like, and I don't mean that as an insult at all. I loved that part of it. But anyway.
And that's why, like, I remember with 4 too, people were like, man, are they gonna like, because there's some super cheese in like original 4, like
right in the beginning, in the opening card ride, it's like, oh my gosh, what am I doing? Yeah.
But yeah, like the remakes so far have actually been generally like more like serious. But yeah, this game is just the actual like vibe of this game is it's much different. It definitely has a more psychological element going on. It's definitely like deeper and has more like meaning and like a message that it's trying to tell. Like this characters that you're meeting in this game that have these backgrounds, these stories that you're learning and unraveling. If you're kind of paying attention and noticing things like contextually through just like things that are happening, or even like a boss fight, there's some pretty effed up things, like really messed up. Especially this one female character that you meet, and then you do a boss fight, and you kind of like, if you pay attention to what she's saying, and if you pay attention to what the boss looks like, it's actually really terrible. Abuse related type stuff, I'll say. Yeah, it's actually very dark. But yeah, and what I really, and I mentioned before too, what I really like about this one is like, I mean, Silent Hill is a town, like that's what Silent Hill is, right? Yep. You really do feel like you're like in this whole massive town. You're going through these different areas, and it's all kind of interconnected in different ways. Whether it's like literally just the town, but it's all foggy and like just kind of looks decrepit, like just kind of abandoned and shambly. But then there's like the kind of rusty areas, which is like, I don't even know like what that is or what you would call it, because it's like, is that's still Silent Hill, but like it's a different like version of Silent. Like I don't quite get what that is, like when that change happens, like what you would even call that. But it's just like then it gets like really horrifying and gross. And
are there areas that you can't access till later, or is it not really blocked off that way?
It's so I would say that like it's the game's kind of like got some areas that are kind of semi-open where you're kind of exploring it, like early on you get to like, when you get into the like the kind of like this, there's like a main street, and then like some streets that kind of like go off in different directions. But then like once you kind of unlock the main door to get to the next section, then it's like linear, and then it opens up a little bit again, and then linear. And then sometimes you're in a build, like there's an apartment complex section that you go into, which like that section is pretty early on. And I was like, dude, I don't want to be here. This place is awful. Like it's just so terrible in here. And it was going on for so long. But, yeah. But again, that's the feeling that they want you to feel like it's just like bearing down on you. And you're just like, you're psychologically being all messed up while you're playing this game. It knows exactly what it's doing. They did a good job with it. It makes sense. And Bloober did a good job, I think, translating it. I've never played the original, but I mean, I've seen people that like were like, no, F this game. Like this doesn't look like the OG. And then people like flipped. They're like, okay, you know what? Like they nailed it. It's different, but like they did a good job. Like this is a good video game. So yeah, hey, props to Bloober, because people were not believing in them. So
yeah, true.
Yeah,
very
they did
true.
A good job.
Yeah, I'm impressed by what they did there. I mean, it's not even a game that is in my wheelhouse in terms of something I'm interested in. I don't mind playing a horror game here or there. Like I played Alan Wake 2 and loved it.
Yeah.
Resident Evil 4 remake, because I love the old one. But generally speaking, if it's like super creepy and disturbing, it's just not my thing. Same with movies. Like I don't know. I just don't get the same kick out of them. I've watched a few of them, even like the greats. People say you got to watch this one, and I've seen something. I'm like, yeah, it's not really my thing.
But that makes sense.
But I am glad that it's very good. I'm glad that it's sticking with people the way that it is, which is awesome.
Yeah, I'm glad that I finally got to experience it. I did. And it's long. Like it's not a short game. Like it's 15, 16 hour average game. So for a horror game, that's a lot of time to spend somewhere where you're like enjoying it, but equally feeling like miserable.
Yeah.
The intentional misery that it's trying to make you feel. But yeah, so I finished that, and then today more so than yesterday, because yesterday I streamed back on Metaphor. So I'm so now full attention on Metaphor.
Like,
So
you're not streaming Metaphor, you're just playing it, right?
yeah, no, I'm just playing Metaphor.
Okay.
So now that will be what
Is that
I'm,
easy to
because
jump back into after not playing it for a little while?
the spot that I left off wasn't too bad because.
Okay.
So it's funny saying I was only 20 hours into the game because like 20 hours is not a short amount of time. That's more time than I spent with Silent Hill, technically. But yeah, like where I left off is like still for this game because it's so long, fairly kind of early on.
Yeah.
So it wasn't too jarring to jump back into. I basically left off right before like getting to a section where you get something that's going to bring you out into the world, and now you're like doing like the main thing. So I was kind of like right there, like right before that. So now we're like off on our journey to go do like the main thing that's happening.
Okay.
In Metaphor.
Nice.
So, but streaming, Tim, streaming wise.
Mm-hmm.
So Renee and her mom went to a Christmas festival, a couple of states over. So they like actually like stayed in a hotel. They made a whole like little 2 day like trip of it. So I had the house by myself. So yesterday I finished work and I was like, well, I'm home by myself and I got nothing to really do. I mean, I could go play something, but I was going to stream later that evening to finish Final Fantasy V. And I was like, you know what? Screw it. I'm just going to stream right after work. So I did finale Final Fantasy V yesterday.
Yes.
It took me 10 hours, Tim. I did a 10-hour stream.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
And normally my stream
you hadn't finished 5 before, right?
I had. That was actually, so technically the only one I have finished.
4 you haven't finished. Okay.
But like
and
5
6 you haven't finished.
Right, exactly. So 4 and 6 I got super far into when I like played back in the day. But 5 I did for some reason. That one I was just like, yeah, I just stuck with that one and I beat it. I don't know, whatever.
But how was it on the replay as you wrapped it up? Was it like, I love this one?
It's fantastic.
One of your favorites. Yeah.
It's fantastic. I'm gonna like once I finish 6, I'm gonna like sort of reevaluate in my head like where everything sort of lands. But 5 is wonderful, man. Like, and it was one of the Final Fantasies that never came to the States back in the day until I think either was it the GBA? I know there's a GBA version. There was a PSP version. Maybe
was
PS1?
Was it part of the anthology on PS1?
Hold on. I actually have it, Tim. So.
Okay. Or is that just Chrono Cross and 6? And wasn't that like a weird combination of them?
So, oh yeah, okay. Well, I'm an idiot. I literally have it, and I'm like, I don't know. This case is a little dinged up, but so we got
5 and 6.
Yeah, we got 5 and 6 there.
What's the collection that Square put out that has like a Final Fantasy and Chrono Trigger on it?
Yeah, there's Chrono Trigger. I don't remember what that one's called. I don't.
But isn't that called like a Final Fantasy something, and then it has Chrono Trigger? It's like a weird. Okay.
Yeah. I remember exactly. Yeah, I just don't remember what that one's called.
Yeah. So there you go. You've got 5 and 6 on the PlayStation 1 as well. If you ever wanted to pull that one back
check
out.
That one back up.
Yeah.
But 5 is 5. I think is gonna start being like one that people like recognize more because the pixel remasters are just much more easily accessible.
Yep.
As like one of the greater pixel ones because it's always 4 and 6 as far as like the pixel Final Fantasies are, when people are ranking them at the top. 5 is great. It's got a good balance of humor and seriousness compared to 4 because 4 is pretty much all serious. So yeah, they did a really good job with the writing and balancing the serious moments when like characters die and like a town gets like just completely wiped off the map or something, and then like a little while later like they're just kind of like laughing and just like poking fun, the party's like poking fun at each other and stuff like that. So there's more going on with the writing there and more nuance compared to 4, which again just pretty much straight up serious.
Yeah, I feel like 6 learned a lot from what they did with 5. Like, hey, we can actually tell some serious stories here. We can have our goofiness too, which they certainly have. But it tells a lot of serious stories in 6. Like, and the way that a lot of games will do that, a lot of RPGs especially do this, where you'll have characters that join your party or whatever, and you can pursue their stories as well. And sometimes you see their stories as you recruit them, but then a lot of times there's a way to go revisit and learn more. And I know Final Fantasy's done that for years. What's the big one recently? Dragon Age, I know, does that as well, where you can go to, like, BioWare does a brilliant job of this in all their games.
Yeah.
where it's like, let's dig into our companion stories, and they,
right, to build the relationship and such.
Of course, yeah. So 6 does that a lot too, and they tell sometimes some pretty heavy stuff, which I realized with their graphical limitations back in the day, like it's hard to communicate emotion with these little pixel figures.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? But they do a really good job of it.
Well, the music helps a lot too. So like the music definitely lends to that, and especially because Uematsu is, well, he's a genius, so he's just fantastic. But yeah, I'm very excited to, because I mean 6 is, like I was just saying a second ago, 4 and 6 are usually at the top of the list for the pixel ones, but like 6 is the one, like that's usually, like if it's not 7 and like 9 or 10, it's 6 are at the top.
And hey, Dan, make sure that you, in our Discord server, which I'll link in the description, make sure that you post on there before. I don't mean like as you're starting, like do it like a day before, like tomorrow. Like I need to know ahead of time because I need to watch you play at least some of 6.
I mean, I could just share my skill. Well, I'm trying to like I've basically said, like, as I'm trying to be more consistent again in the second half of the year, like Tuesdays and Fridays are when I stream. Tuesdays and Fridays, unless like I move a day because of XYZ reason. But yeah, I mean, I literally actually sometimes create like an image thing of like, here's my schedule. So I could certainly share that in there too. But yeah, so yeah, 6 we'll be starting 6 next week, Tim. Starting that next week.
I'm excited. All right, nice.
But yeah, 5, please play 5 if you're a Final Fantasy fan out there and you're just like, I've never played.
I never finished 5. I played a lot of it. I never finished it.
The job system is super fun, man. It's really fun.
Yeah.
So. Nice. Yeah, that's basically it for me.
Any more progress in Dragon Age this week, or have you been mostly on Metaphor and streaming?
Yeah, no, I literally finished Silent Hill 2.
Silent Hill 2, of course.
Thursday.
Yeah.
I finished that Thursday. Yeah. Okay. So then yesterday and today back on Metaphor. So
okay.
I don't want to jump between Dragon Age and Metaphor, because they're both just beefy games. I do want to just try to focus on one, and especially with Dragon Age, I'm still fairly early on, so I don't want to get like too far into it and start learning all these systems and then forget them. So
I get that. Yeah, and same with their storylines too, like remembering characters and who they are, what they're doing, whether or not you like them, all that kind of stuff.
Exactly.
That makes sense. Yeah, most of my gaming this week has been, kind of boring, repetitive stuff, but I'll go through a few of them. I am playing more Valheim again because I'm trying to get up to the new content. I just haven't had as much time as I'd like to with it. But yeah, I just finished the second boss. I'm doing a new run because they've added a bunch of stuff to it, and the maps are so big. I'm sure I could have gone in and found the new stuff by uncovering, sections of the map I've never been to before. But sometimes it's nice just to start fresh, and sometimes I do that with an existing character. I'll bring things over, and sometimes I'll just do a fresh run. So this is just a fresh run.
Yeah.
And I'm having a lot of fun with it. So anyway, I just finished the second boss and get ready to head into the swamp, which is where a lot of this new content is. This Bog Witch content is there. And there's I just noticed there is when you build a new category, it'll have like crafting, miscellaneous, building, furniture. And now there's a new thing called heavy build, which if it's been there, I haven't noticed it before. I haven't. So maybe it's just a new way to add in, how you could have like the iron supported beams when you unlock iron.
Sure.
So it could just be that, and they're just kind of organizing it differently.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Maybe there's other. I actually have purposefully not looked to see. There's plenty of reviews out there, people who are saying, here's all the new stuff. But I'm like, part of what made me fall in love with this game is that I discovered most of it on my own. Everything from the bosses to the upgrades, and I just think that's really fun. And as you pick up a new resource and learn how to refine it into whatever, then you start to unlock recipes. You're like, holy crap, like that feeling is really good. So I'm just going to wait and see for that one. But that game is always super fun.
I just don't play that. I don't play that nearly enough as much as I want to. Like I want to just play a ton. It's on because it's on Xbox, but like I would just I game mostly on my PlayStation, so like I don't even know if there's plans to release it.
They should put it on PS5. They should put it on. I don't see why it wouldn't run on Switch too. You just have to like lower the settings. Like, but if you go into like in PC, you can lower a lot of the settings, everything from
Yeah.
the draw distance to the deep level of detail, and you can run it on a pretty low level graphics card. It's not like it can be a pretty game with its pixel art style that
Well,
it's
I was
going
playing on my
for.
laptop, remember? Before I got this
That's
PC, I
right.
I
And
had like
it
a
can work.
fairly old laptop and it
Yeah.
worked. Yeah.
So I
So
think it could run on Switch. I've seen
yeah,
other weird magical things happen on Switch. So I think so
sure.
anyway, I feel like Valheim could find new life. Maybe when it hits 1.0 release someday in
Mm,
the future, they'll do
yeah,
that.
yeah.
But also been spending some time playing this game that I think I mentioned before too. I think I might even said it last week called Contraband Police because it was
Oh,
on sale.
yes.
So I'm playing this one. It's actually a surprisingly fun. Yes, it's janky, but it's a surprisingly fun little indie game where
Hmm.
you are a border crossing, not just a guard, but you're like in charge of this border patrol unit and you like upgrade them, you upgrade your prison, you upgrade your living quarters. Like there's the little upgrades you can buy. It's kind of very 70s, 80s Russia-esque environment.
Oh yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah. I remember you
yeah,
mentioning.
and so you're in like this, you have a small map, and when you arrest people who are trying to smuggle things in, and then you can take them to the labor camp. It's very communist. You take them to the labor camp if you want. But
Sounds
as the
common.
story unfolds, you do get some missions, and it legitimately has a story of, do you want to join the rebels against the oppressive government because they're evil, or do you want to like play it clean and be like buttoned up and work for the government and
Mm,
take that? So you can, there's a bunch of choices you can make throughout,
interesting.
and you'll get fined and you'll get in trouble if you try to help the rebels, but there's ways you can help them try to sneak things through. You could try to
Mm,
even once you confiscate contraband, you could turn around and sell it to other people that are coming through, or you can turn it into the police station and get much less money for it. So
yeah.
there's a lot of like fun little which direction do you want to go. And they also don't shy away from some tongue-in-cheek humor. They have a like they have like these chapters, and every chapter there's a new thing as you're looking at cars coming through, vehicles coming through the border, what to look for. Like sometimes it'll be, hey, we have the Olympics, so any cars that have three or more defects, like broken windows or flat tires or whatever, don't let them in. The government has decided we must look clean, with like and so they
Sure.
have these rules that will come up, and one of them was Novid has returned, so everyone has to have a vaccination card to show they've been
Oh,
cleared from the
Novid.
no from no, they have a vaccine from Novid, and it has to be up to date.
Jeez.
And it's so funny because like you have to check the date with today's date, and you have to make sure it's actually for Novid and not for like, 'cause, like
Mm,
some people come through with like, here's my vaccine card and it's for cholera, and you're like,
my
denied. You're
God.
not coming in our country. Get out of here.
Yeah, yeah. Get out of
Yeah.
here.
So like
Get him
I
out of here.
it is a really fun little game, and there is some shooting. Like there's, you get your base gets assaulted by these rebel groups, and you can buy, the shooting isn't great, but it's fine.
Yeah.
It's serviceable. But yeah, you have to take out all these enemies, and then you can loot them afterwards and get money and ammo, and it's very basic guns. You have either a pistol, a SMG, a shotgun, a rifle, or a sniper rifle.
Mm,
I think there's also an assault rifle, but um, you're not like you don't like mod them. You're not really leveling up your skills with the gun. You're
yeah.
just it's very basic in
More
that
about the
realm.
contraband element.
It's more about the contraband. But the fact that they'll even add a mission, like you'll go to sleep for the next day and they'll wake you up in the middle of the night and say the police need support. They're getting raided over near whatever. So you can drive
Hmm.
if you want to. You can optionally go and drive over there and help them take out all the bad guys. So
Oh, so is it like a whole town that's like kind of set up or?
yeah, it's more like it is sort of like a town, but it's very barren. So it's lots of like woods and mountains
Yeah.
and roads. And so you have to get in your car, you have to drive to like the shop to buy more weapons or buy more ammo or buy more
Mm,
tools. You have to use all these tools. Like if you discover that they've got contraband hidden in their seats, you need to have knives to cut through the seats, and those knives will break after a while. If it's in
okay.
their tires, you have to have a certain thing, or if it's in their, sometimes they'll even be bringing in livestock, and you'll notice like some of the livestock look funny. They're not moving. So you can empty out everything, all their cargo. And when you investigate it, you can see some of them are actually containers that just look like a pig. It's not really a pig. And you can bust open the back of it, and they've
Jeez.
smuggled
Like a
in like
piggy bank.
weapons in it. Yeah. Yeah. Like a piggy bank. So, I mean,
That's outrageous.
it's all very like low budget looking, of
Yeah.
course. So it is not a looker. And even the gameplay is janky. And it's like, if you're into shooters, this is not a shooter, but it has some first person shooting. If you're into sim games, it's not incredibly in depth on the sim, but it's got enough that's pretty fun. It's
But all
almost like
these sim games are not that pretty.
it's
They're
almost
just
like
kind
a,
of like
exactly,
there.
exactly.
Yeah.
But it's almost like a puzzle game because you take their papers and you have to like sometimes it's like playing a matching game mixed with spot the difference, mixed with
Hmm.
like and you have to do a cargo checklist. So you have to go to the back and see like does their cargo match up? Is this guy's vehicle actually what it says on his registration card? You can like hit the
Hmm.
button to weigh the car to see if it weighs more than it should. Like there's lots of uh I don't know, there's lots of things to test if they're being
Yeah.
legit as they come through. So
But again, that's kind of just the thing because people who don't play sim games really at all, like they don't get it. But like
right.
gas station simulator, it's like why am I playing a game where I'm pumping gas? It's just like listen,
The
man,
better
like
question is why not? You know what I
it's
mean?
why
Yeah,
why not do that?
that's right.
In your free time and not as a job getting paid for it.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah,
So
that's
I'm enjoying that one. That one's a good time. And then on Switch, I'm still playing more Unicorn Overlord. Got a little more
yes.
progress going in that. I don't know if I'll ever finish it. That game is so freaking long, but
Will you become the unicorn that
I hope so.
lords over everyone, Tim?
Someday.
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 I believe in you.
But yeah, so I'm playing that too. But other than that, a lot of Call of Duty as well. Like
Mm,
when I've had gaming time this week, it's been like I think I've got like 15 minutes, so I can probably squeeze in a quick round. It's harder to
sure.
like jump into a lot of the games that I really like to spend time in are really in depth, and you want to
Yeah.
like have a session. This has just been one of those weeks with the schedule with work and with kids all being home. My gaming sessions have just been more brief, and
Yeah.
so something like Call of Duty is a great option for that. Same with like Rocket League when I was into Rocket League, and like
Yeah.
you can just jump into a multiplayer match. So I've been playing a lot of that. I did hit my first prestige, so I'm like
Ooh.
I'm a pro. That's what I'm saying.
There
No,
you
I'm
go.
not at all. Because when you do the first prestige, they start throwing into matches with others who have also hit that level. They try to like
Yep,
match up.
sure.
And I was getting plastered my first few
Yeah.
rounds. I was just like, not only do you lose a lot of your upgrades, they have a cool system where you can pick some permanent upgrades. But
Mm,
if you've done Prestige and Call of Duty before, they reset a lot of the unlocks and you work your way back through. But you get to
yep.
pick, I think, one perk or something. So and one weapon. Anyway, you get to pick some permanent unlocks, which is a cool feature. Every time you prestige, you pick another thing to permanently unlock, so you don't lose that. Which I like that. But man, I was just getting smoked. And now that I'm
Yeah.
like level up to level 20 or 24 or something like that on this first level prestige, now they've got. It's almost like they had to reevaluate my skill level because I
Sure.
was just playing against guys that were just like and girls. Sorry, I
Oh,
was
they're
playing against.
just playing constantly. Like,
They were
yeah,
so
they're just
good,
good.
and they
Yeah.
all know the
Oh,
map
jeez.
perfectly. And I just felt like every corner I went around, there was someone who was perfectly perched in the right spot and knew I was going to
Sure.
be there. And I was like, okay, uh, you need to put me in with different players because this
Yeah.
is not.
Could you put me with like a well, yeah, I was gonna say the kids, but the kids are also really good.
The
So
kids are really good. Yeah,
yeah, the
put me
kids are
put me
really
with
good.
like
So.
the other dads like me who don't have as much
Sure.
time to play, but just like to
Yeah.
shoot people sometimes.
The 1 or 2 rounds here and there, dads,
Exactly.
like
Yes.
what level
Exactly.
do you prestige at? Like what is it? Is it 50 or
55.
okay?
So
Because
you
I
get up
think
to
I'm in low
55.
40s.
Yeah, so you get up to 55, and then by then you've unlocked most of the weapons and stuff. But at Prestige, I think there's additional unlocks. It's mostly the aesthetic stuff. I
Yeah,
don't,
yeah, yeah.
I could be wrong. There might be some actual functional things you're gonna unlock,
Mm,
but yeah, I'm really enjoying it. And a lot of the unlocks are still hidden behind things like get a certain number of headshots or kills with something to get this
right.
attachment for that weapon, or get. I have unlocked some pretty cool reticles for certain scopes and stuff like that. I still haven't seen that one that you and I saw, the blue one. I've seen other players use it,
Yeah.
but like that little blue one
It,
that looked like Metroid or something,
it
that was
had to have
cool.
been a specific gun because I've
Yeah,
gone into a couple of the scopes or whatever in like 3 of the guns and like there were different like reticles, so it's like there must be
there's a
like
specific
specifically
scope that must have that one as an option,
right
and
for that gun. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So, and I did play. I think I progressed the story one more mission. I actually thought I would finish it this week. I thought I would just knock out the story, but I've
Mm,
really only done one more mission since last time we talked. It was
okay.
really good. It was a whole heist mission. It was so fun.
Oh, cool.
It's really well put together. Like that campaign is tops, man. Like
Yeah.
this is a legit entry in this franchise, which I know is easy to make fun of, kind of like Madden or something where it's like, oh boy,
Sure.
dude, bros playing their games. But it's a legit entry campaign wise, and I think multiplayer wise, I think hardcore Call of Duty fans might look at it and say this is above average, but not the best.
Mm,
Multiplayer seems to be what I'm hearing. But
okay.
I'm really enjoying the multiplayer,
Yeah.
and they I think they're adding some new stuff to it. They just added they keep adding these new, not so much new modes, but new like mixes where like, all right, do you want to do, and they're temporary, but they'll throw them in there. Like, do you want to do 10-on-10 matches where there's more players
Mosh
and
pit, the mosh pit
a
one.
10v10 mosh pit where it's like,
Yeah.
okay, all the same modes, but now you got more player, and that one's insane. It's kind of like playing chaos mode in Rocket League where it's like, okay, there's too many maybe in here.
Yes, there's too many humans here.
But then there's one because there's a couple really awesome small maps that you won't
Well, there's
see
the Nuketown
unless
one, and then
yeah,
one I saw today earlier. Actually, was it
Stakeout,
Demolition
I
or
think
something?
it's called.
Or Stakeout, maybe. Yeah, it was
So
Stakeout.
that
Yeah,
one is like this little apartment building. It's just like this little loop, and it's insanity because like you can't take 3 steps without someone being in bathroom
everyone's
or a
sliding
closet
around and
oh,
like,
it's crazy.
Like, it's out of control. Like,
but
Jesus
like I see
Christ.
the appeal of like it's kind of fun and funny and silly, but
it's just chaotic. It's just chaotic.
very chaotic. So they have a bunch of little maps like that. So anyway, I'm digging Call of Duty. It's a nice change of pace when I go to something like Valheim, and then I'll put on like an audiobook or a podcast and like build in Viking land. You know what I mean?
And relaxing.
Or then I'll put on Call of Duty and put on some rock music and try to be a dude, bro.
And you're full of rage. Yeah.
And it's funny. I'll have a match where I'll go. I think one of my best matches, I was like 31-3, which I think might have been my best match by far. I was cooking. And I realized a lot of it is luck. A lot of it is where did you spawn, who's in front, like. But I had a really good match, and then it wasn't too long after that I had a match that I was like 10-24. I was like, okay, well,
it flipped. It was 3
totally
3 win, 31 losses. Yeah.
So that happens too. And there are times when like the same person kills you 4 times in a row, and you're just like, I don't know who you are, but I hate you. I hate you so much.
I'm gonna kill you and your entire family.
I'm gonna end your bloodline.
I'm gonna beat you with the family dog. You know, something like outrageous like that.
Something like that. Yeah, something like
that.
So anyway. All right, so that's mostly what we've been playing. It sounds like, I know for those of you listening and watching, it's like, yeah, you guys are playing the same games. Yeah, I mean it's
a lot of games.
Kind of how it's going. So, one of the things I want to do here in the next couple weeks, especially when Kyle's able to get back on, and our hope is that Kyle, poor guy, gets his power back. The snowstorms really messed with his area more than mine up north of where I live. So hopefully that gets restored soon. So he doesn't have to keep setting a fire in his living room to stay warm and writing letters by quill to family.
Cutting open a what is it in Star Wars? I can't remember. You'd lay inside of it.
Oh my gosh, the tauntauns or whatever.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. That's what Kyle's doing right now. He's inside a tauntaun. So
which, as a kid, that was still my most disgusting scene. I'd say because the guts come out of it. I had never seen anything like it when I was a kid.
Sure.
But anyway, so yeah, when he gets back, one of the things I want to do is I want to start highlighting. Okay, what are the games before Game of the Year that any of us are trying to knock out, and maybe we challenge each other on. You got to play at least this much of this game so we can talk about it. And so for me, that's probably going to be stuff like I got to get to a certain point of Outlaws, if not finish it. I got to get to a certain point of Dragon Age, not Inquisition, Veilguard. I might even want to try a little bit, just for Kyle's sake, just because we love that guy. I want to try a little bit of the Yakuza game, that even though I didn't finish the first Like a Dragon, but like a little bit of the new Like a Dragon, maybe a little bit of Stellar Blade. I should play some more Stellar Blade. Metaphor. Yeah, there's a bunch on my list,
so
and I'm
many
sure you
long
guys
games.
I'm sure you guys have lists too, where it's like, okay, how much more can I play of that one? Do I?
Yeah.
Do I need you guys to play a little more Echoes of Wisdom? Like play a little bit of Zelda? Like so we'll like handpick a few that we think the others should really try out. A little more crossover for our discussion, but we can do that here in the coming weeks. But there are a couple pieces of news that I thought were notable. Number one, just crazy loss, but it's just one of those things that happens in life. The actor Tony Todd passed away. Of course, he was video game wise most recently Venom in Spider-Man 2.
I completely forgot about that, man.
Yeah, and he will also be in the upcoming Indiana Jones game. I don't know in what role, but that's going to be his. That's a role he's already recorded for, obviously. Yeah, just sad. I mean, if you're a horror fan, speaking of horror stuff, like I know that I'm not a major horror fan, but I absolutely know that he is a staple in that realm of horror, both with voice acting as well as with actually being in movies. I think Candyman was his main role. Yeah. So yeah,
that's a bummer.
Pretty sad.
We've lost like a handful of like really amazing, talented black actors these past like few years.
That's right.
Was
We
him,
just lost the guy from Brooklyn Nine-Nine who was so
Brooklyn
good.
Nine-Nine.
Lance Reddick was last year, right?
Yep. Lance Reddick. Yep.
James
I
Earl
swear
Jones.
there's another one. Yeah, James Earl Jones. Yep. Like I just quite a few of them.
Like,
yeah, these
iconic, all of them.
Yeah,
iconic in their own
in like
way.
these last like 2, 3, 4 years. It's like wow, that's kind of outrageous. Like
Yeah,
all like
ones
with
that-
like really unique voices, like
That's right.
distinct like booming voices. You know, like
Yep.
yeah.
Yeah, totally agree. So yeah, that's sad. Wanted to highlight
sad.
that the Grammys, we talked about this before, they are including an award for best video game soundtrack, and
Hmm.
I gotta tell you, I'm not really usually impressed by their nominations just because they don't make sense in terms of like when they're getting nominated sometimes.
Okay.
So here's their nominations. There's 5 of them.
Okay.
Avatar, Frontiers of Pandora.
Y'all play Avatar?
Are you already out? Okay, Dan's out. God of War Ragnarok, Valhalla,
okay.
but specifically
Yeah.
the Valhalla DLC is being called out for because I don't know if it's got unique music or what. Okay. Marvel Spider-Man 2, Star Wars Outlaws, and then Wizardry Proving Grounds of the Mad Overlord. What is that game?
Huh? Now hold on. Great. Hold on. I call bullshit on this, Tim. All right. Stellar Blade came out this year. Okay. The music in Stellar Blade is unbelievable. like I'm not even kidding. Like just if anyone listening is you're just like I don't care about playing Stellar Blade or I'm just not going to get around to it anytime soon. Just go to YouTube or Spotify, whatever, and listen to Stellar Blade's soundtrack. It's unbelievable.
So Wizardry is a remake of an old school RPG. And there's been lots of Wizardry games.
Well,
I
that's
guess.
really
It's not a series that I followed.
So the Grammys even just like, oh yeah, remakes. We love remakes.
So the first year's winner was Assassin's Creed Valhalla, which I was like, okay. Yeah, Assassin's Creed music's always good, whatever. Sure. But also like they won in 2023. That game came out in 2021, right?
Oh, you're saying in 2023 they gave it to Valhalla?
There's timing of it that's weird. Same with like Ragnarok and Spider-Man 2 and even Avatar. Like those aren't games from this year. Wizardry's a remake. Everything about it is just weird to me.
They're not acknowledging the games that actually came out this year.
It seems very strange, but whatever. I'm sure it's great. Congratulations.
But seriously, don't listen to Cellblade soundtrack.
Yeah, absolutely. Macaulay Culkin is joining season 2 of Amazon's Fallout show.
I saw that.
He's going to be playing what they call a crazy genius type character, which is great because he has a crazy look about him, which will fit.
Is it going to be Kevin, but like in a post-apocalyptic?
I hope his name. If his name isn't Kevin, that's a really.
If somebody doesn't yell Kevin,
missed opportunity. Yeah.
Kevin.
Yeah. They don't say the name of his character yet, but they just say that he has officially joined, and they don't even have a production time frame set yet, so it's going to be a while.
Or you know what it's just him playing him in a post-apocalyptic world,
and he's defending his vault from the invaders, like with little silly traps.
Yep. Yeah, he's the only one in the vault.
I would love it if he has paint cans that are swinging down on strings to knock out the bad guys. That'd be amazing.
Yes. There we go.
Yeah, I think that'd be fantastic. Let's see. The Mass Effect TV show, speaking of TV, is officially in development now. So the good news, Dan, when it comes to TV and movies, the key thing on whether or not it's going to be good, listen, the director's important, actors are important, all that. It's the script. Who's writing this thing, right?
Yep.
This is being written by the Fast and Furious 9 writer. So
I knew this was coming because I saw that the other day and I cackled out loud. I cackled. Oh man.
So
Jesus.
There you go. Hey, listen, anything can happen, right? It could be great. It could be great. Maybe that's the thing about Fast and Furious 9 that we didn't know was how good the writing was. It's possible.
They're actually just going to call it Family Effect.
Yeah.
Family. Oh, family.
Yeah. So.
Oh boy, that's going to be something.
Sure is. But you know what else is something is how Multiverses went from being a surprise hit to then being
Mhm.
removed so they could prep it for its 1.0 release, and then coming back as an absolute failure
Wah, wah,
because you
wah.
had a player base and then you took the game away from them for months and months and then brought it back and no one cared anymore because you
No.
lost your momentum. It was just one of the dumbest moves.
Yeah.
And you can make an argument like that was their plan all along. They communicated it poorly then, and they planned it poorly. It was really poor. Like they should have left it
Yeah.
out as an early access game, and then they could have launched from there with that player base
Yeah. Like
into the like.
updates and
I
doing
don't
stuff.
understand why they did it the way they did it. I think it was super dumb. But now they're saying it's like a major reason that they're behind in their profitability right now, and they're taking about $100 million hit. It sounds like.
Oof. Hey, at
I
least
don't
it's not
know.
400 million.
I know, isn't that crazy? Like the 100 million is like that is company changing. That is like
Yeah.
job loss levels of a hit. And Concord was 4 times that. Holy.
Tim, did you actually? Because I'm not seeing it as a bullet point. Was it the COO of Sony talking about Concord and how they're not gonna?
Yeah, so I didn't put it on there, but yeah, he was reflecting about like what happened and what we can learn from it. So I'll give you some of the things that he said and I'll get your thoughts on it. He says, currently we're still in the process of learning, and basically with regards to new IP, you don't know the results till you actually try it. So for us and our reflection, we probably need to have a lot of gates, including more user testing, eternal
Mm,
and not eternal, internal evaluation, and the timing of these gates. And then we need to bring them forward. And we should have done those gates much earlier than we did. Also, we have a very siloed organization. I hear this a lot
mm,
across all the different places I've worked. Hey, we need to break down these silos and get more collaborative. So he is saying you'd go beyond the boundaries of those organizations in terms of development and sales, and that could have been much smoother. And then going forward, our own titles and third-party titles, we do have many different windows, and we want to select the right and optimal window so we can deploy them on our own platform without cannibalization. I don't think that had anything to do with the problem with Concord, buddy, but I see what you're saying. So it's one of those things where it's like, here's the things that we've learned, and he names some things that are good, right? Like silos aren't good, and like a better process, and there weren't the right gates in place to like call out the problems with this game, and there were problems with the game. People get mad about that. Think it's just cultural and like social issues. It wasn't just
it's
that,
all.
although
It's all those
although
problems.
those
Yeah.
didn't help. You alienated a part of your audience by doing that stuff too, for sure. But the core game itself was not it wasn't like undeniably great. It was
Mm,
fine. From all that I've heard, it was a fine to good range of game.
sure.
But you need to be undeniably good to get a foothold in that genre. You know, like you need to
Mm.
be great. So anyway, what do you think about what he had to say?
I mean, I guess the first thing that pops in my head is like, all right, well, how long have businesses existed? Like,
Yeah.
how do we how are you guys being like we should have had this thing and that thing and this? It's like, are you just realizing this like 2024? For as long as civilization has existed and we have businesses and people are trying to make money, like you're just getting this now.
Yep.
This is why I hate just all the corporate mumbo jumbo and the yippity yapping and all that. It's just like, can you guys just like be humans and just be like, listen, we were being stupid.
Yeah.
We were being dumb. Some people just are bad with money. We were being bad with money. We're sorry.
That's right.
And we're not going to do it again.
Yeah.
Cause like, yeah, you should have people testing these things and just pay attention to the market better. Cause like we all saw like whether you were like hating the looks of the characters and all that crap, like it's like, what was it? $40,
Yeah.
right? Like that's dumb. Like there should have been a
Basically,
free
what
to
they did
play.
was they gave
Like,
everyone a reason to deny this game. They gave
yeah,
every different group a reason to say no. People who are super like stingy purchasers, they gave them a reason to say no.
right.
People who, right or wrong or somewhere between, think anything that's got anything that looks liberal or progressive is just a woke mind virus,
Right.
whatever. You gave them a reason to say no to your game without even giving it a chance. You gave everyone who has played too many of these live service games and aren't
Yep.
really sure what
Yep.
you're offering. You gave them a reason to say, like, you gave every
Yep.
single group a reason to say no. And that was the main problem. It was like, dude, who is this supposed to appeal to? I
Yeah.
actually don't know what audience you had left at that point,
I mean, I
in my
almost feel like
opinion.
it. I almost feel like because they spent 400, they were just like, well, we have to like charge $40 for this to try to recoup, and like
Yeah.
fingers crossed, people do end up liking it and buying it, and we make that money
That's
back.
right.
Like it had to be, right?
And by the
Like
way, you can make whatever kind of game you want. It doesn't matter to me. Like if you want to make a game with a certain worldview or position or character
yeah,
design or gameplay style, you do whatever you want to do. And just you need to be able to internally know what your audience is going to be, have the right expectations, and then budget accordingly. We can spend 10 million on this game because we think it might make 30 million.
yeah.
Best case, like whatever that, you know what I mean? Like whatever that thing is, like you
Hmm.
have to be, but like to spend this much money even if it was only 200 million out of their pocket when it's all said and done, I don't know if how much it was.
Yeah.
Dude, that's so much. That's so much.
It's just silly. This late in the game with how
Yeah.
long video games have existed, like how are you still not getting? I mean, I don't know, man. It's just so weird. It's like were there just people in high places that just are oblivious to all the things that you just listed there? And it's
Mhm.
like if that's the case, then that person shouldn't have that job.
Yeah,
They shouldn't be in that position. It should be
I
somebody who's
agree.
more level-headed and is paying attention to things, you
Well,
know.
there's got to be someone there. I swear there has to be not just someone, there has to be entire teams, and their whole job is to know who is our audience. And like, because a big part of business is not just acquiring new customers, but keeping current customers engaged and coming back. How do you turn a
Mm,
customer into a repeat customer? How do you get them to stay in your ecosystem? You know, for all the
yeah.
problems Microsoft has, they came up with something with things like Game Pass to try to keep you in their ecosystem and they're, for better or worse, trying to make it available everywhere. That way
Hmm.
you'll stay in their ecosystem. And so there has to be someone at PlayStation who knows their audience and like someone had to have seen what was happening and been like, yeah, this is a bad idea. So either they weren't empowered to speak up or they did and they were ignored or they were scared to because
Well,
they were told
wasn't
don't.
that being said? Wasn't
That
that
was being
actually
said.
literally what it was being?
That
Yeah.
was well, that was rumors from some of the same people
Okay.
who talked to Colin about the pricing.
Oh, that's what it was. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So like it's rumored, don't know that for sure. It sounds like it sounds accurate, right? But we don't
Yeah.
know. We don't know
Based on
that for
the
sure.
outcome of everything.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, that people were like shushed, like,
Yeah.
no, 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 this is gonna be really cool. Like, it's like, oh.
Yeah. I will say this, just as something more positive here, because I saw some stuff about Death Stranding is now available for Xbox,
Oh, yes. Yeah.
which is kind of cool. But that there's also a Clueless Gamer with Conan O'Brien that is now out about him playing Death Stranding. It's only
Oh,
like it's really short, but it's very funny.
okay.
Um,
Dude, he's so mean to that guy.
yeah,
He's so mean to he's always just like punching him and like
yeah,
just harassing the crap out of him. But
yeah. And he always makes fun of him for being a nerd.
yeah.
And he always does his nerd voice, like "I'm gonna go blast the Zorp or whatever." Like he always,
And does
yeah,
that, like,
yeah.
yeah. It's just
Um,
such a jerk.
Take-Two has said that game sales actually were boosted, even though the movie Borderlands was disappointing. So that's kind of cool.
Oh,
So
okay.
Borderlands sales did see a nice little tick up.
Okay.
But they did sell, speaking of Take-Two, they did sell their indie label private division. So we knew this was happening because they had closed some of the studios that were under that division, like
Hmm.
the Ollie Ollie World studio, the Kerbal Space Program studio, some of their smaller developers. So it's not a surprise, but
Oh,
it
yeah.
has just officially happened. And not last but not least, Take Two also saying that Grand Theft Auto 6 is still on track for a fall release next year, 2025, which would be crazy. Speaking of Rockstar, I am probably gonna fire up more Red Dead Redemption 1 because I feel like I want to play more of the zombie version of that thing. So I'm gonna
Mm,
play a little bit of that main game and then jump into Undead Nightmare.
nice.
I highly recommend it, by the way, everybody. Again, the remaster there on PC. It's really cool. A couple other quick things. The new Star Wars Outlaws creative director has talked about their biggest update yet, which comes out in about 2 weeks. They talked about they were improving some key areas because the original creative director has moved on to focus on the Division 3. So now they have this
Oh.
new creative director. And he said the first thing is that the game's combat, where they wanted to add more depth and excitement to the experience, and rewarding your tactics and precision, which is one of the reasons I think I'm going to be pretty motivated in a couple weeks to jump back in with all the updates and actually play
Mm,
through Outlaws. Then they want to improve stealth, not only improving the readability and consistency of detection, but also giving you the better choices on how you want to approach each encounter. And then finally around character controls, which is everything about reliability of cover, increasing responsiveness for climbing and crouching, and just generally improving uh, consistency of controls overall.
Yeah.
So this title update 1.4, along with their story DLC called Wildcard, it all arrives on November 21st. So
Wild
hey,
card.
we give Ubisoft a lot of crap. They've had some struggles. Like if you look at their I don't know, their not roster, their table of contents, I guess you could say, over the last couple of years.
Catalog.
They have their catalog just for the last year, two, maybe even three. I'm not saying there's no wins. I've enjoyed a lot of their games, but like it's been a struggle because they were on
Yeah.
such a roll. They were on a Capcom like streak. I would say Capcom right now is the one of the studios I look at and say top of their game right now,
Yeah. Yeah.
as
Yeah.
far as like third party developers go.
Sure.
So so yeah, it'd be nice to see Ubisoft get back on track. It seems like they've had a bit of an awakening with the struggles and the industry shakeup, of course, but also like they've just had issues internally and with game reception, and things just aren't quite hitting like they should.
Yeah.
So,
I think they
I
just need almost like new people at the top because the
the
people
people
like
at the top, yeah,
hate was it
E-
Yves
Eves,
Guillemot? Yves
hmm
Guillemot? Because it just over the years all the gross stuff that like came out. But
yeah, it's
like
like just put some new people in there, man. Get some new
yeah.
young blood in there. But I am not only am I hopeful for this, I think I'm going to enjoy my time with Outlaws here in a few weeks. But I am actually now more excited for the Assassin's Creed Shadows game in February.
Mm,
I was expecting a 7 or 8 out of 10 type of experience with that game. Like
sure.
probably going to be beautiful, but probably janky AF and like not not great.
Mm,
But I'm not saying it's not going to have jank, but now I'm
right.
kind of like, is this going to be the next like Origins or Odyssey that I'm like blown away by? Like I hope so, man. I
I hope the
really.
yeah, the extra window of time there should, I mean, what's this like 6 no,
It's about a
3 months,
4 month. It's
months?
it's like a
Yeah.
4 month extension
Yeah.
essentially.
So,
Um, yeah.
yeah.
And they have such a big team. It's one thing to do a 4 month
Yeah.
extension if you have a team of like a dozen, but they have
Right.
teams of hundreds and hundreds of people
Oh
that are
yeah, absolutely.
play testing and fine tuning and like, yeah, get it done. Like I really hope it's good. Um, Final Fantasy producer has claimed that Square plans to release future games simultaneously on Xbox. This has come from Yoshida saying that Square Enix plans to release games simultaneously moving forward. That's a good thing. I think
Should have been doing that already.
they're also talking about when 16 will hit the Xbox. I think that's in the cards right
Yeah.
now. But
Well, that's how it's been this like with or this not just this generation, but just like with remake and rebirth and 16, and also just Square just being such weirdos about their expectations of sales. They've been this way for years. When they had IDOS, was it IDOS, right?
yeah, that's right.
Or EDOS, however you pronounce it.
Yeah, and
Just
Crystal Dynamics.
Crystal Dynamic just never being happy. Oh, this only sold 5 million. It's like, are you kidding me? Like,
And I'm still sad
it's like,
about the Guardians of the Galaxy game. I love that game.
dude, that came, yeah,
I loved all three Tomb Raider games too. I realized I was a little bit more lukewarm on the third one just because I felt
mm,
like it was just a lot more of the same.
yeah,
But
yeah,
that doesn't
yeah,
mean it was bad. And I would have
right,
absolutely been hyped for another new Tomb Raider game if they
yeah,
made one. But
yeah.
anyway,
They should have been doing this the whole time.
I
They
agree.
really should have.
I agree. And I don't know if you're aware of this Pokemon game, but this Pokemon trading card game Pocket is
Mm,
like taking the world by storm. This was a news article from a few days ago, so maybe it's even more now, but its opening weekend made like 12 million bucks and it's averaging 3 times more per day than Pokemon Go. Now, Pokemon Go is 8 years old now. That's
yeah,
fair. I get it. But this thing is apparently just everywhere. Everyone's playing the trading card game Pocket. And there's something also, I watched my son open a couple packs,
yeah.
like getting the packs and opening them. They get 1 pack a day, or you could buy more, of course. That is pretty fun. Like
Tim, people love cracking packs.
they love to open those packs and
Cracking
look through what I get,
packs.
what I get, what I get, what I get.
Yeah,
And you flip
absolutely.
like that's
But
super
it's like
fun.
what's wild though is like this is just digital too. Like you don't own any of this. Like
I know,
it could
I
just
know,
disappear tomorrow and you don't own
I
any of
know.
it,
It's actually much more fun to do that in person, of course. I still
Oh
remember
yeah.
back in the day because I was a big fan of like baseball cards. Crack open a baseball card pack and
Mm.
see like who is there's a rookie card. Is there like some like super expensive card that my recent
Am I
Beckett
getting Jordan? Am I
magazine?
getting
Yeah,
Jordan?
exactly. So, um, but hey, this is no surprise. We talked about WB a little bit ago. They did confirm that the Hogwarts Legacy sequel, which is underway but still several years away, not a
Sure.
surprise. I think that's probably like a 2028 game, maybe 2027 if we're lucky. But they have said it's going to tie in with the new Harry Potter HBO series,
Oh,
which I think by the time the game comes out, we'll probably already have a season, maybe two out, just depending on how quickly that production, maybe at least
when
one
does that
season
take
out.
place? Do we know the show or?
So the show is supposed to be, it's retelling the books, I believe. I believe it's
Oh,
like, I think
it's a
it's a Harry
remake.
Potter. I think so. I think it's a recast of like all the main
Oh,
characters, and I could be
okay.
totally wrong. Let me actually, now I'm gonna look that up because I
Kind
don't
of
want
wild.
to.
Where we're gonna remake Harry Potter already, huh?
Well, they had talked about remaking the movies, and I think it got turned into a series. Okay, so that's gonna hit in 2026. So maybe the game will also come out in 2026, or 2027.
Just seems so quick though.
Um, let's see. So it is. Yeah, it's got a open casting call for Harry Potter, Ron Weasley, Hermione Granger.
Oh wow.
So like they're going through the book series, I
Yeah.
believe, as a TV show, which I think
Wow.
is great. Oh, our family is huge fans of that book series. We love it. The audiobooks especially read by Jim Dale, 100% recommend. He's so
Hmm.
good. And then the movies are still a good time. They're still a good watch.
Yeah.
And I love the Hogwarts Legacy game. I thought it was so fun. They captured what it was like to be in that castle as well as traveling around and casting magic. The combat was way more fun than it should have been. Like,
Hmm.
should not have been that fun.
That's
So
still one I have to play, Tim.
that one is really fun. I actually am going to do a replay on my PC at some point because it was like down to $20 or something. I found it. And so I went ahead and grabbed the copy
Nice.
on some steep sale. Um, so yeah, I love that game. So anyway, all right, dude. Well, let's wrap things up in honor of Veterans Day, which this episode is launching on Veterans Day. I'm just gonna highlight a few military themed video games or video game franchises. Uh, this is not necessarily because in some cases it's not even realistic, but it's still military themed. So it's not necessarily meant to be like a big America segment of the podcast, but instead,
America.
more about like the just to celebrate veterans. I've got some family members and friends. I'm sure you do too, Dan, who either have or currently are serving, and so appreciate
Mhm. Of
all of them. And that is
course.
that is no small thing, of
Very
course.
knowable.
To
So we say hashtag brave and stunning sometimes, but it's like it's legit brave to.
this is where it's both brave and stunning,
Yeah, it's
legitimately.
actually very brave
Yeah,
and pretty stunning to put your life on
yeah,
the line and be in the military and do all of that. So
agreed. So yeah,
yeah.
we salute you all. Legitimately, really thankful for you. And also, it just highlights the fact that even though I might not think of it as a genre or a setting that if you were to ask me what's your favorite setting for a video game, that would probably be pretty low on the list of like what comes to
Mm,
mind. But as I was thinking through these, I'm like, I like a lot of these games and franchises. These are really fun. So we'll start with a pretty obvious one, Call of Duty. It's
sure.
like the big one that released recently. But what I like about the Call of Duty series, I don't know if you remember this, but Medal of Honor, and that's another one. Medal of Honor is another kind of classic one. It's kind of dead now, I think, but
Yeah.
it was a classic one. But that was the kind of wartime first-person shooter experience. It was on
Yeah.
PS1, it was on PC, it was like the thing. And then in 2002 or 2003, Call of Duty released, and I think Activision was. I think they also published it then. I think they've had it from the beginning. I think.
Yeah.
But it released, and I just remember playing that game on my PC at the time, which was the only other time I had a decent PC. And the opening sequence was so much like Saving Private Ryan, it blew my mind. It's like you're storming the beach of Normandy, and you
Yep.
got bullets
Yep.
whizzing overhead and stuff. And at the time, of course, it was graphically just incredible compared to other stuff that was out. But that stuck with me, man. Like they told a really good story, really compelling campaign in those Call of Duty games. Call of Duty 1, 2, and 3, I thought were so fun. Like really, really fun, like World War II games. Really great campaigns. Had a good time. And I talked to a few people who really got into those multiplayer too, but I wasn't really yet into playing a lot of multiplayer
Yeah.
online at that point. So I know
That's probably more
two.
Battlefield was popular for
Battlefield
multiplayer,
was
right?
popular. Counter
Yeah.
Strike was really big. I
Counter
think Counter
Strike.
Strike
Yeah.
was out at the time.
Yeah.
Halo, of course, was taking the world by storm, and so, but I heard a lot of people talk about Call of Duty 2. I think was a pretty relatively popular online mode. I
Okay.
think, and then along comes Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare.
Yep.
Something we didn't really see. Like there were games that tried the modern setting, but up to that point, most of the major shooters were either doing super futuristic stuff, Halo, or historical war, Call of Duty,
Yeah.
Medal of Honor. And they brought out Modern Warfare. And not only did it have a super fun, like Michael Bay style campaign of like a dumb but fun campaign story,
Hmm.
but it had one of the best and most addicting multiplayer setups ever.
Yeah.
Like the unlocks, the level up, the maps, and they would release these map packs. I was so hooked on that game. Like I thought Modern Warfare. You played that too, right? Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare.
No, but um, or actually maybe I did. Just not a ton. Actually, no. I think I remember actually, yeah, having it on the PS3. I did
Okay.
have it on the PS3, but I didn't play it a ton.
I bet you there are some of
I
those maps. If you drop me in them right now, I'd probably know exactly where to go on a few of them. Not all of them, maybe, but
yeah.
like there's just a few that just stick with you. You know what I mean?
But that one was so popular that they literally, I mean, how many years ago they remade that Modern Warfare?
They
Not
did.
not the 2019 one, but I'm saying like they remastered rather
They
that
did.
original one.
That's right. I think they remastered all three at different times, right? Eventually,
Did
outside
they?
of doing the remakes for all, they did
Oh,
remakes for
there's
all
definitely
three.
two. I don't know if they did three,
They
but
might not have
maybe
remade.
they did.
They might have remastered three. I don't know. But yeah. So I have and I know they've dipped back into World War II a couple of times. World at War, and then I think they had one just called World War II one time.
Yeah,
Um,
there was one more in the last 5 years
I think that
that
one was
was
just
like a,
called World War II. I think.
I think
Which
so.
hey, I still like those. Those campaigns are still fun for me. I think it's fun to kind of go back and do a historical shooter. I think those are fun.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, but then they of course have done a bunch of spin-offs, Modern Warfare, but then they've spun off into Black Ops, which might be arguably their most popular other than Modern Warfare. Like those are kind of the two
Yeah.
mainstays, I
Yeah.
think.
Yeah.
Then you have some one-offs like Ghost or Advanced Warfare and some of these other
Mhm.
things. But overall, probably one of the most recognizable military games. And of course, you mentioned Battlefield, another one, a
Yeah.
really big one. The one I spent the most time with had to be 1942, I think.
That was like the one, right? The online, like where the online like people
Yeah.
were, because it's like that's like one of the. I mean, again, I'm just not. I didn't have a PC back then where I was playing games, and certainly not like these like shooting games and online
Hmm.
games. But I definitely remember always hearing these stories. Like I'm like, dude, was it 32 versus 32 players? Like this is insane.
It
Was it
might have
that
been. I
high
remember.
back then?
I don't remember how high it was, but I remember I felt like there was lots of soldiers
Yeah,
on the
just an
field,
obscene amount of people.
and yeah,
Like,
people flying and like in vehicles, and
and
it was insane.
and nowadays that seems like, oh, that's, like it doesn't happen all the time, but like, yeah, definitely you could see that happening. But like that many years ago, that just seems insane. And jumping into like planes and stuff and flying around on the map,
Yep.
like that just seemed like such like a impossible thing back then. So I would imagine anybody who did have the means to play that. I didn't, unfortunately, but that definitely would have been like mind blowing, just
Yep.
absolutely mind blowing.
I agree. Another popular military themed game I'm gonna throw out there: Advance Wars. Super fun, super
Oh,
lighthearted.
sure.
A much different take on the military theme, but certainly
Hmm.
is military, right? You have a lot of troopers on the ground.
It's a
Um,
tactics game. You got to think about,
it's a tactics game.
war.
Yeah,
War is
lots of
tactical.
but like a lot of it is like rolling out your tanks or your aircraft with your aircraft carriers or your troops on the ground. Yeah, so I think that's a super fun series, and the remake of 1 and 2 on the Switch this year is a lot of fun. I recommend
Hmm.
giving those a look. Um, there's some kind of like strategy versions of this too. You got stuff like Commandos, which was um, it's isometric view. It's a lot of stealth, and you're leading literally a small group of commandos, usually through an
Hmm.
environment, taking out enemies. But then you had larger scale stuff like Command and Conquer, where you've got
That's
huge
true.
platoons and you're just like collecting all these soldiers and tanks and all this stuff, and you're going to fight the enemy. Command and Conquer series got out of hand a little bit with like Red
Yeah.
Alert and stuff, but it did start as a very basic, like modern day, like realistic um,
Yeah, because it got like
technology.
futuristic key,
It
right?
got
And like
futuristic, but it's still
I
fun.
don't know,
Hey,
post apostle.
Red Alert and Red Alert 2 were awesome games. But
Yeah.
which by the way, those games I think just hit Game Pass, I think. Like
Oh.
last week maybe. Anyway, so it was a lot of fun. Speaking of strategy, there was a shooter called Brother in Arms. I only played one of them. I think there's a
Hmm.
few. But that's one where you would give out orders to the other guys, other squads, and you would tell them like, take cover over here, give me suppressive fire over there, or flanker on the side. Like it was fun because
Hmm.
it included an element of strategy to it, and you would actually use the cursor to decide where you want them to go set up. I want you to set up here and then do
Yeah.
Overwatch over this way, or I want you to flank around the side and shoot through the side of the house or whatever. And that was a World War II setting too. I thought Brothers in Arms was a lot of fun. Hey, one that I played just last year, the new entry of, I think it was the fifth one, was Sniper Elite. Do you ever play any of those
Mm,
series? So that's a good
no,
one.
but I mean, those have been around for quite a while, actually.
Yeah, I think it was the fifth one. I think it was the fifth one that I played last year. That was the new one.
Yeah.
Anyway, I know I just finished whatever the most recent release was. I think it was five.
Yeah.
But that one, of course, has a lot of stealth. You're like this infamous World War II sniper taking out these Nazi generals
Hmm.
and stuff. And
Gotta take out the
um,
Nazis.
you can absolutely pull out the machine guns and just get into a full-on like third-person shooter, maybe even first-person shooter fight, or you can do the sniping from a distance and kind of Hitman style, try to time it up with current explosions, or like maybe a car is backfiring as a guy's
Hmm.
working on it, and then you like snipe them, and it zooms in and it shows you as the bullet like goes through their
Yes.
skull and
The
stuff.
Mortal Kombat X-ray vision,
Yes, that's
like.
exactly what it is. You see like the bones shattering as it
Yeah.
goes through.
Yeah.
So that one's pretty classic. And then Ghost Recon,
Yeah.
those games are pretty cool. I've played a few of those that were really, really great that I really enjoyed. A few that I never really gave a fair chance, to be honest. But I did enjoy a lot of those. And of course, speaking of Tom Clancy, you've got the Rainbow Six series, which has been around for a long time. I know Siege is the most popular one now, but I remember playing it on the N64, just the original Rainbow Six game. Of course, looking back at it now, it's very visually rough,
Oh,
but
of course.
it was fun. You like you saw the map of your mission, and you planned out like where you're gonna go and your other squads are gonna go, and like who's gonna do what. So I loved that strategy element to those games. But getting out of like shooty pew pew versions of this, there's also games like Valiant Hearts that's got a military theme.
Oh, sure.
Speaking of
Yeah, which is
Ubisoft,
much more art. Yeah, that's more of an artistic, like just story-driven
oh
type of
yeah,
experience, right?
yep. Same thing with like This War of Mine. I think, although that's more
Mm.
about survivors, you're not really in the military, but it's around the idea of war. But Valiant Hearts, you're absolutely a soldier or a former soldier. I can't remember exactly the story, but it's a very moving story set in World War One. And yeah, I highly recommend that one if you guys haven't played it. Splinter Cell comes to mind for me. I love Splinter Cell. I'd
Sure.
love to see them bring that back. Um, I
I mean,
listen. I could always be Sam Fisher again, sneaking around, taking out bad guys. You know,
dude, Sam Fisher is he's sleeping. He's somewhere asleep.
come on, man, it's time to
He's
wake
taking the
up.
longest nap. He's taking the long.
He's a sleeper cell. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, he's a sleeper cell.
Yeah.
I mean, Metal Gear, I guess, right? I mean,
So
with
that's the
that
last
kind of.
one on my list I was gonna highlight. Yeah,
Well,
Metal
so
Gear
actually, before
Solid.
we do that one,
Yeah.
real quick, it actually popped into my head. I'm like, oh, this kind of actually would count, even though it's more anime aesthetic.
Okay.
Valkyria Chronicles.
That's right.
Yeah,
Yep.
like that, which is actually like a really, again, going back to like the whole strategy element where I'm like have to be in the mood
Mhm.
for that game. Like when that came to the scene on the PS3, I was like, dude, this is wild because like it's
Yep.
not like a grid based system or anything. Like you're moving real time,
Well,
but like you can
free
only.
form. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's very free form, but like you're still deciding strategically because you need to take cover and like set up your soldiers in certain places and certain positions. But yeah, you're just moving, you're just roaming around openly. But like if you're in someone's crossfire, like if they see you, then the enemy's going to start shooting you in real time too. So you could still be running and try to get to cover, but you're getting shot at. So like
Yep.
if your HP hits zero, then that soldier's they're
That's right.
they're out. So um yeah, that game's actually really cool. And there's also a tank. There's like a tank that you get like
That's
right in the
right.
beginning of the game, and you're actually customizing the tank and upgrading it and everything. But yeah, that one I never actually finished that. I keep
I
always
only
wanting
played
to
a
like
little
go
bit of
back
the
to it.
fourth one, Valkyrie Chronicles
Okay,
4. That's the main
yeah,
one that I've played. But it also it was very anime, but was it World War II or something, a war that looked kind of like World War II?
yeah. If I remember correctly, I think it's like a smaller country that's like being invaded by some kind of empire or something.
So it's probably fictional, but it just has a World War II
Yeah,
vibe too.
no,
Like the
yeah, it's
weapons you're
definitely
using
fictional.
feel like bolt action rifles or
Right.
something.
Yes. Yeah. 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 Exactly.
Um, yeah. Yeah, but of course, Metal Gear Solid, to me, one of the most infamous in a good way military themed because it's more about not just being in the military, because that's definitely there, right? Where you're sneaking around and you're shooting the bad guys and you're doing you have all the gear,
Hmm.
but it's more about the conspiracy and kind of the dark side of,
Yeah. Yeah.
military contracts and government conspiracies and these black ops programs that are like all that kind of stuff, cloning and whatever else, right?
Soldier programs. Yeah, like
Soldier
literally like
programs.
making
Yeah.
soldiers, like child soldiers,
Child
actually.
soldiers. That's right. Yeah.
So
Yeah, so that to me is one of my favorite ones because it's like a lot of these other ones have their own takes on it, good and bad and in between. Oh, and don't forget stuff like what's that one? I just played it recently because I hadn't finished it before. It's got a kind of a twist. Shoot, what's it called? Not the Fallujah one.
it's military.
Hang on, now I have to find it. It's gonna bother
I can't
me.
think of it.
You're in the Middle East, and then it like
Oh, is
I
that the
don't.
one that was like being banned, or they were trying to ban it?
They might have. Okay, what's this one called? Hang on, I'm gonna find it because it's gonna bother me.
I remember there was that one military shooter that like it kept just getting like delayed or something because it was trying like people were trying to ban it or whatever.
Maybe I can't find it. I know it's on my Steam library. I've got too many games in here though. How do you look at what? Because I know I played it this past year.
Definitely got to be able to sort, right?
You gotta be able to sort by what you played. I thought it's not Brothers. Oh, the Saboteur, by the way, as I'm looking through this list.
Saboteur,
Yeah, Saboteur.
which
But
had
yes,
a really cool aesthetic.
really cool. Yeah, that one's neat. I'm not. You know what? I'm not gonna find it. It is a controversial one. Gosh, I wish I could. My mind is just blank. Oh, no, not Hardline. Spec Ops: The Line.
Oh, okay, that's not what I was thinking of, but yeah, yeah, dude. Oh my god, jeez, that game.
Yeah.
Whew.
So
That's a
stuff
game that
like
should be remade. I feel like because there's a
absolutely.
good amount of people out there that have, like I've always heard of the game, but like they just like yeah,
And if you go to play
I
it
didn't
now,
play.
it's functional, but it's definitely like old. It could feel better. Like it could use some
Yeah,
quality of life improvements on the gameplay. That's another one. When you think about Metal Gear Solid, where it's like we're gonna tell you a story, but we're gonna kind of blow your mind a little bit with some
yeah,
elements of this, and I really like that. So more power to them when they do that kind of thing.
yeah.
Um, but there you go. There's a bunch. I'm sure there's more that we could get into. Those are a few that came out for me, like jumped out to my mind as far as like military themes goes. And
Yeah.
listen, I know that it's also a sensitive topic for some, like military theme is never going to do it for
Oh,
you. Totally
sure.
get it. There's still military themes that are not at all realistic that could be a lot of fun. Halo, Gears of War, those games have military like themes, and even Mass Effect to some extent, but in a space like setting or a sci-fi or futuristic or completely non-real world setting.
Yeah.
Those are great, and also like the historical ones we mentioned before can be really good ones too.
Or something
Um,
anime centric like Valkyria Chronicles if you want to
something
just
anime, that's right.
give you something a little more cartoony looking because you're like, listen, I don't want to see like actual soldiers like getting
Yeah.
murderized. So,
Yep,
but
totally agree.
uh,
Anyway, well, I think that does it for us for this week. Thank you guys all for watching and listening. Don't forget to check out our Discord server. I'll put that link in the description for you to. For right now, it's just a handful of us that are in there participating and chatting, but we'd love to grow that group. Feel free to jump in with your thoughts in the chit chat channel, or
yeah,
drop YouTube videos, or promote something you're working on, or ask anyone if they want to join you for a gaming session, whatever. We'd love to build that group there. So, anyway, thanks again, guys. We'll see you next time. Bye.